We returned to the entrance door and Betty noticed it was propped open. "Ah, smart man," she said. After looking briefly in a dark corner, she returned with a rock for the door and handed me back my lockpicks. "This will make things much easier going forward. Follow me." We worked our way back along the lighted hallway until Betty walked over to a slightly discolored board on the wall and gave it a sharp rap with the side of her fist. The board lowered on an unseen hinge to reveal a compartment behind it. "Wow, I never would have found that," I said. "Exactly," said Betty. She reached into the compartment and pulled out a flashlight and a long chain with a spiked ball on the business end. The chain of the weapon glowed with an eerie blue light. She grabbed the metal rod at the other end. "This one's for me." She pumped the flashlight a few times, then powered it on and handed it to me. "Here, you try it." I'm sure you are familiar with stroking a shaft up and down. No batteries required. I gave it a few shakes and the light got brighter. "That's pretty handy," I said. Betty came over and fondled my crotch while licking my cheek with her insane tongue. "Aren't you glad to have me around?" "Hey, I'm a married man," I said. "Oh, how sweet, a true gentleman. You know, I've met other bastards who think just because I'm a succubus, I'm their own private fuck bucket, and they can treat me like shit. But aren't you supposed to... Oh yeah, I'm the queen of seduction, but I'm not allowed to actually do the deed without an invitation. There must be consent." "What? Who makes up these rules?" "Fuck if I know. That's above my pay grade. But disobedience is met with punishment that is immediate and harsh. And if there's one thing these bastards know, it's torture. Some of these fuckers cut their teeth on the Inquisition after all. I didn't want to pursue that line of inquiry. So am I required to follow these rules that I don't know about? Not really, you just have to survive. Pretty much any way you can." Betty released her grip on my cock with a gentle caress from her nails. She moved her mouth to my ear and whispered, "Be sure to let me know when you're ready to break those silly wedding vows." Yeah," I said. "Let's hold that in abeyance for now. Lead on." "Sure thing, big boy." I love it when they try to hold out. We continued along the hallway until we came to an unlit corridor to the right. "Okay, flashlight on and sword out," said Betty. "These things hate the light but can be pretty vicious when cornered. Just be glad you didn't stumble down here in the dark." After a few yards, we came upon a hideous creature. About the size of a large dog, it had the body of a spider and the head of a rat, and a cluster of spidery eyeballs. "I call them spats for obvious reasons," said Betty. She impaled it in the head with her chained spike and dragged it toward us. "Finish it off!" I jammed my broken sword into its eyeballs and it collapsed to the floor. I immediately felt a tingling in my arm and saw a vision of a swordsman on a battlefield. I had almost no time to ponder as several of the buggers were now scurrying forward. Betty was twirling her spike like mad, and I was hacking and slashing until the hallway was filled with body parts and ichor, feeling a bit more powerful after each kill. Scores of the creatures came and died, only to be replaced by dozens more. At last, the final one was dispatched, and there was an intense flash of light as my whole body pulsed with godlike power. "What the fuck was that?" I asked. "You just leveled up, lover boy. I feel like I could take on the whole world." "Enjoy the rush," said Betty. "It will fade after a minute or so." "What, is this some kind of video game or something?" "Oh, I assure you this is no game, but some of the same type rules apply. You'll see as you make further progress." "I don't care about that. This place is fucking crazy and I just want out of here." Now, there's no need to panic." She came over and kissed me full on the lips, exploring my mouth with her snaky tongue and rubbing her breasts up against me. Even considering the angst I was experiencing, I was getting turned on in spite of myself. "Now about those vows." No shit, she was the queen of seduction, but somehow I resisted the temptation. Barely. The intensity from the level up faded, and I disengaged from her embrace. "You're no fun. Come on, let's move on." Further along the side corridor, we came upon a locked door. My key opened it, but I got no tingling sensation. I asked Betty about that. "Point of diminishing returns," she said. "The key will work on certain locks, but you no longer get any experience from using it. The lockpicks, however, will still give you a thrill as you progress." "I see." Though I didn't really. What in the actual fuck was going on down here? Video game rules in real life? No way was I dreaming this. I looked at my hands to make sure. It was real, all right. It just made no fucking sense. There was a chest and a cot in the room. At least this one had a mattress on it. My adrenaline rush had worn off and I felt a crash coming on. But first, I tried the key on the chest to no avail. So I applied my lockpicks and saw 3 pins needing to be lifted. It took me a few tries, but finally all three stayed up. I got the now familiar tingle and the chest popped open. Inside, I found a pair of smooth leather boots and a satchel that looked like an oversized leather fanny pack. "Nice," said Betty. "Those boots will increase your running speed, and that pack will hold a shitload of stuff without increasing in weight." I tossed my Nikes aside and slipped on the boots. They molded to my feet in a perfect fit. I put the various items I had collected in the pack and strapped it to my belt. "You've been here before," I observed. "Is it always the same stuff?" "Not necessarily," said Betty. "That first chest you always get the sword, the lockpicks, and the jerky. After that there are a variety of available items, and it is random which ones you get." "Well, these two seem pretty good." I looked at the cot longingly. "I didn't get any sleep last night, and I'm about ready to pass out." "Good idea, but lock the door first. Don't want any of those spats to sneak up on us." I locked the door and lowered myself onto the mattress. Betty knelt beside me and ran her fingers gently through my hair. It felt wonderful, but I was out in less than a minute. I was totally disoriented when I woke up. There was a warm body jammed up against me, breathing evenly. Miranda? Then I saw the pitch-black hair and skimpy blue outfit, and it all came back to me. Definitely not a dream. But what the hell was this? Werewolves and demons and bizarre rat creatures in a dungeon under a movie theater. I pulled out my cell phone to see if I could get a signal. It was completely dead. My stirring woke Betty up. "Good morning, handsome." She stretched and yawned. Somehow her makeup did not appear mussed, like it was baked in or something. She reached over and lightly caressed my chest with her nails, which was fortunate since a heavy stroke would have sliced my shirt to ribbons. "I'm hungry. You got any more of that beef jerky?" I did, and we shared the last of it, plus finished off the water. "This has been a real adventure," I said. "But is there any possibility you can show me the way out of here?" She studied my face with those huge blue eyes. "Oh, darling, if you haven't realized by now, there's no going back. I can show you the way forward, but that's about it." "And what does forward lead to?" "That depends." "Depends on what?" "On the choices you make." I mulled that over for a bit. "What choices?" Betty stood up and stretched again, displaying her unreal proportions to advantage. "For example, you chose not to ravish me on sight. That was definitely a point in your favor." She bent over and licked me gently on the cheek. "But actually, I have another one for you if you've the stomach for it." "Oh, really? What's that?" Betty stuck the handle of her chain mace in her shorts and wrapped the chain around her waist, the spiked ball clipped in place at her hip. "Follow me and I will show you." That sounded intriguing. Betty clearly knew her way around and, in spite of her words, maybe I could figure out some way to escape. I unlocked the door, turned on the flashlight, and we headed down the dark hallway. Somehow all the muck from the spats had vanished. Demonic cleaning crews? We reached the main hallway and turned right, back toward the entrance. Betty indicated we should take the next dark hallway to the left. I pointed the light that way and was surprised to see small universal signs for men's and women's restrooms, just like in the theater above. "So this is my big choice?" I asked. "No, silly. This is the call of nature," said Betty. "And don't forget to fill up your water bottle." She gave me a brief wave and pushed her way into the women's room. When I opened the men's room, the lights came on and I relieved myself in the urinal. At the sink, I found a new toothbrush and a small plastic razor. There were dispensers for foam and toothpaste, so I shaved and brushed my teeth. No more crazy than the other shit down here. I took a long drink of water from a fountain and filled my bottle. Betty was waiting for me in the hallway. She put her arms around me and nuzzled my neck. You smell nice. Are you sure you don't want to go back to that cot and see what I have to offer?" Let's just keep moving on," I said. "You said something about a big choice?" "Oh, a business before pleasure man, is it?" She sighed. "This way, then." Betty led me back along the lighted hallway. Before we even reached the werewolf cage, we could hear sniffing coming from that direction. "Bethesda, you bitch! What are you doing here?" Betty whispered in my ear. "He recognizes my smell. Give me your key and have your sword at the ready." Realizing the werewolf must have superior hearing as well, I motioned Betty further back along the hallway before whispering back. "You want me to murder him in cold blood? He is thoroughly evil, so killing him is a good act. Besides, it's not permadeath. He'll be back at the next reset. I considered it. Don't you need silver bullets to kill a werewolf?" "Ah, very astute. Actually, that shitty sword you have is laced with silver, so it will suffice. He's chained up, so this is pretty low risk. Just aim for the heart." "All right, fuck it. How do we do this?" Just leave the distraction to me and be ready for your opportunity. I handed her my key. Okay, let's go for it. Betty motioned me to put some distance between us, then walked over and quickly unlocked the cage. She pulled it open and took a few steps back, holding the key out provocatively. Hey, Wolfenstein, look what I have. The werewolf immediately rushed out to the limit of his chained foot and clawed at the air inches from Betty's face. You cunt, he snarled. Give me that or next time I get a hold of you. He never finished that sentence as my sword plunged into his chest. He was only able to give me a murderous glance before writhing in agony and collapsing in a bloody heap. I instantly got that level-up surge of light and power and felt on top of the world. I kept staring as the werewolf slowly transformed into an ordinary, though exceptionally hairy man. I looked over at Betty, who was sporting a wide grin on that huge mouth of hers. I thought you said it was pure evil. Honey, I know what evil lurks in the heart of men. I left that one alone. So how come I leveled up after only one kill? For a level 1 to kill a werewolf is a massive amount of experience, so that was somewhat of an exploit. But as I said, I've been around the block a few times. Now check out that chest in the back of the cage. I stepped over the werewolf's corpse and saw there was indeed a fancy chest back in the shadows. I knelt down to examine the lock mechanism when the cage door slammed shut behind me. Betty clicked the lock and doubled over in laughter. I can't believe you fell for that.